Happy New Year,
Yay, 2025.
Here's to a happy, healthy New Year for you, your family, your footwear. Is that right? Family and footwear? Yes, of course. Yes, it is. All right. This episode, we will go around the table for our entire staff and talk a little bit about predictions for 2025, maybe some resolutions for 2025, and maybe the shoes they're looking to buy in 2025, or the trends they think will take off in 2025. Which
You have multiple options.
which I will not be talking about
Yeah, of course
whatsoever. But I'll let Matt start to, again, point and shoot at our
Who
staff
should we
to see
start
who's-
with first? People are not making eye contact with me right now. Gary Raines, predictions or resolutions or shoes you plan to buy.
The economy will crash, and the apocalypse will come back.
Inflation will go
4
up.
horses will come, and it will destroy the earth. Gary Raines.
That's right. I think the 800-pound gorilla, the elephant in the room is the potential for tariffs and the implication, the fallout from that much deeper into 2025.
Buzzkill again.
That's right, buzzkill again. But beyond that, looking ahead to footwear, regression models notwithstanding, I am much more country mouse than city mouse. So spend my time out in the woods, and I'm looking to get a new pair of Solomons. Had served me really well this last 2 years ago, and they're fun, but they're getting a little long in the tooth, and it's about time to get a new pair. And I was really tickled with those. I'm looking
For a tickle with them. That's
I
nice.
was tickled
Is
with
that what you
them.
wrote in your online?
Tickled mouse.
Explain the
do it.
country mouse versus city mouse comparison.
Have you never seen Fievel?
Yeah. American.
No, I know. For our listeners that might not know
American
that.
Have they not seen Fievel?
yeah.
I'm not sure. Like our listeners, if you haven't seen Fievel, you can just turn it off now, okay?
Yeah.
An American Tale.
right.
We're,
Yeah, so when I'm not sitting in front of a screen, I'm out in the woods, and every chance I get to,
On a screen.
On screen.
I'm out in the woods. And
Gary, I have a New Year's resolution for you.
All right.
And I think you started to make your way towards it towards the end of the year, but no black bars. Like
No black
the
bars.
key is no. And if you're on a member call, if you're not, I mean, you have problems. But if you're on a member call, you know exactly what we're talking about. Gary and his PowerPoint of hell with black bars, and we don't know why and how, and it's kind of like the drones. We don't know where they come from or how that when they leave, why they leave.
Sure.
But you got some black bars you're going to deal with.
Yeah, I got the eternal black bars, and I've tried a little bit of everything to get rid of said black bars, but there seemed to be no
Except
rhyme
buy
or
a
reason.
MacBook. You refuse to do that.
Except turn to the dark side and buy a Mac.
Interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Let's keep the train going. Who's
Let's
next?
All right, Jolie.
Resolution, completely separate from FDRA. I did my first big girl purchase this past November. I got a car. By the end of 2025, it will be paid off.
What?
That's
Congratulations.
Big girls don't pay off their cards. Like, that's even better.
That's the goal. That's the goal. So we'll talk about it next year's episode.
We're going to hold you accountable to that. A year from now, we will have probably forgotten. But
I hope you like ramen.
all right, Ashley.
Okay. Gary will probably get mad at me for saying this, but I feel like even with all the tariff stuff, people will still buy shoes because they need shoes. As far as what I'm buying, I have too many in my closet already. I didn't care about shoes before I got this job. At my first meeting with the team, Matt said, "What are you wearing?" And I didn't even know. And now I look at
I
everybody's.
remember what it is. I'm not going to out our member where you bought these from, but I remember where you bought them.
Yep.
A little blackmail. I like it.
But yeah, now people don't want me to look at their feet because I'm like, "What are you wearing?" And they're hiding their feet from me. But
And they're strangers. And so, why are you talking to me, lady, in the airport?
friends and family. So I don't want to talk about buying shoes right now in case Joe listens. I'll get in trouble.
He's not listening. Don't worry.
That's true.
All right. Sabria, what about you?
On a personal level, I want to take more vacations, but like actually go somewhere for vacation. So I actually have plans to visit South Africa in a few months. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Because normally my vacations are just at home, and so I don't really do anything. But I want to like actually go somewhere. And so yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully, I'll visit a few other countries past South Africa.
That's really
Very
cool.
cool.
What a
That's very
great
cool.
man.
Yeah, vacations at home are not really vacations because
Yeah,
now
they're
that you
not.
own your own place, you kind of look around and you're like,
It's too much to get
"It's
done.
too
I
much
gotta
to get
clean up.
done,
And
too much I gotta ask my parents to come and do for me. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to, right? So that never ends, right? You could be in your
No.
mid-40s asking your parents to come fix stuff for you in your house. All right, Sandy.
Speaking of travel, I'd like to get out to Europe and see Sophie, my daughter, who's going to college in Madrid in the spring. So I think that's one of my goals for 2025 in terms of what I'd like to do. My prediction for footwear, I still think that sneakers are just going to be bigger and better in 2025. I'm excited to see some of the collabs that are coming down. And the boot business, I think boots are still going to be super hot and cool for 2025, and I think that they're going to be more expensive.
That's for sure. And will the weather cooperate? Like the boogeyman that is the weather always gets blamed for downward sales, and when it's warmer longer, we had a record November in 2024, means boot sales don't happen. So when are those boot purchases going to take place? That's the question.
Yep.
Thomas.
All right, here comes more buzzkill. It's going to be, I'm not going to go resolution because it's hard to top. I mean, these are some really.
Paying off your car, going to South Africa.
Going to South Africa, going to Europe, all this stuff. I think we are.
You're going to Mississippi? Is that
right,
what you're
exactly. You're right. I've got smaller resolutions here. No, I think the first 100 days, right, are going to be nuts. Like, that's my prediction. It's going to be very chaotic, confusing, exhausting, intense, and people are going to be just trying to figure out what is rhetoric and what is actually going to happen, whether it comes to tariffs. I think tax reform gets done. I think that's too big of a priority for Republicans in the House and Senate. But I also think Trump is going to look at more creative ways when it comes to tariffs, not just what we're used to before with the 301 tariffs. You know, we're very familiar with that. Everybody that's listening is well aware of how that process works. But I think he's going to go different and or go with some different options, and then trying to balance. It's going to be fascinating to watch balancing these different interest of getting the economy back and raising tariffs and getting inflation down, but helping U.S. manufacturing. And there's so many different goals that he wants to get done in the first 100 days, and they're not necessarily consistent with each other. So it's going to be a lot. So whatever adjective you want to use for that first 100 days, I think that's you can probably throw it out there
off the charts.
It's going to be crazy.
Crazy. We need that sound Andy makes. The one we all love.
Not that one.
There it is.
So this episode has dropped on January 6th, Thomas's birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And it, as well, is the 10-year anniversary of Thomas joining FDRA, January 6th. I guess it is. January 6th,
Congratulations.
2015.
Thank you.
And so it's been a full 10 years. We've kept you around, even though you're buzzkill. And so any other resolutions or predictions beyond the Trump
What's
stuff?
the next 10 years?
I'm going to go with I'm going to buy shoes. Actually, that's my resolution.
In
It
10
ties in-
years? Okay,
in
good.
10 years, I'm going to keep buying shoes over the next 10 years. No, I'm going to jump to personal resolution, and then I can come back to that. But no, I want to run more in
There you
2025. So I need a new pair of running shoes. It's time for that. I'm gonna. That's one of the first things I'm gonna do.
Got
this
little
year.
kids, you got to run away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
running too, right? So they're all over the place. So I've got to get a good pair.
Where's Daddy? Oh, he's running again.
He's out running.
He's got that resolution.
Yeah,
It'll
so
be over
that's,
in the next month. Don't worry.
Right, exactly. No, I mean, I think like with FDRA, we got a lot to look forward to. I mean, there's so much that I think the next few years, next 10 years, are going to be really, really exciting, and with the industry. And so I know it's like the 100 days are going to be intense, but I think we've got we got a lot of bright
10 years.
The next 10 years are going to be no. We got a lot of bright days ahead. So
I can see his hair changing white as we speak,
yeah.
like Moses off the mountain.
All right, Mr. Polk, what about you?
I think 2025 is going to be a good year, actually. I think the economy will continue to grow. I think tariffs will be very disruptive. We don't really know, but if they can pass tax cuts and extend it, I think that will be a very big deal. I think generally the public mood is quite good. After the election, I feel like Republicans all of a sudden or people voted for Trump all of a sudden felt like the economy was doing great out of nowhere, which is behavioral economics 101. You have no understanding why they feel that way or like why someone drives 5 miles to get gas for 1 cent less. They're
Sits in those Costco gas lines for what?
And then if you vote for Harris and you were upset, you're spending money anyway because you want to get that feeling over with. So spending money on footwear or something else makes you feel a little bit better. But in 25, I think our economy is doing quite well globally. I think, unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of chaos globally. I think we focus so much on the U.S., but you have France, whose government has collapsed. Germany government has collapsed. Canada's government is collapsing. You have continued war in Ukraine that's happening where you have North Koreans invading in. You have China going into Myanmar to help set up the junta there. You continue to have tensions in the South China Sea. There's a lot of geopolitics that we have to keep track of beyond just the tariffs. It's like one added thing to it. So it's one thing that I'll be constantly keeping an eye on are these things and how it impacts our supply chains and impacts our industry. But we've seen this for several years now. So we're kind of acclimated to it. We hope things don't escalate, trade war leading to actual war, but it's something we do have to like keep tabs on. But again, I'm actually positive for 2025. That's going to be a good year. In terms of buying stuff, I don't know. I'm open for companies to send me product to become a tester for them, and I need some athletic shoes. Actually, size 12. Typically wide. It depends on how your last is, etc. But if you want to send me some shoes and let me test them and post on LinkedIn and give you some reviews, I'm happy to do that. So
all 5 stars.
I resolved to help some shoe companies this year by taking their product and testing it for them. So
I mean, Andy, you are an influencer. So.
I'm some influencer of someone, but certainly not my children or my wife. So I have to look outside. So I appreciate working in the industry where people may think that.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, once you walk through the door of home, humility hits very
That's
hard.
for sure. You're in charge of nothing and nobody.
Exactly. So 2025, I think it's going to be a very good year for our industry. We will have challenges. We've seen it before. The closer we can stick together on non-competitive issues will be very critical.
Kumbaya.
And to that point, if you are not a member, you need to join because membership helps us pay for our government relations, going to the Hill to fight, going to the new administration, and at least making an effort. And I constantly tell people like, well, he's going to do what he wants to do. That's not how, that actually isn't true. Politics is like a market. There's an invisible hand to it. And the more pushback that the president and his allies may have from the public, you start to look at legacy. As soon as he walks in the Oval Office, he is a lame duck. He cannot run again.
In theory.
Well,
Hold the phones.
Listen, when he comes out of it, he's going to be an old man. He doesn't have to fight, right? The McDonald's is going to wear him down. Yeah. So, coming out of it, I don't think he has the fight in 4 years that he has today. And he certainly didn't, this last time, he certainly didn't have the fight he had, the last 2 cycles. So I don't see it happening. I don't worry about that. I think our institutions are strong. They've been through a lot. It looks a lot like 1824 with John Quincy Adams versus Andrew Jackson. John Quincy Adams cuts a deal in Congress, becomes president, and then Jackson comes back 4 years later and trounces and takes over and makes all these. We've had this before in our country. We'll be fine. 2025 will be a good year. I'll end on that.
Got it. All right.
That was a lot. Sorry, but
no. You're right. It's like war everywhere, but it's gonna be a great year.
It'll be fun. It will be fun.
It's all good. Do we ask everybody? Does everyone file their New Year's resolutions?
What about Matt?
Let's see. I think it's going to be an impactful year, to say the least. To Andy's point, like, if you have not joined at this point, I mean, like, what is your deal? I mean, Am I right? I mean, I don't want to be entitled, but we have companies who are not members email, can you tell me about tariffs? I'm like, yeah, here's an application, my friend. And it's just to the point where 95% of the industry is a member. And I think at the end of this year, being 2025, we will have corralled even more. That will be chipping away at that last remaining 5% because it is going to be such an impactful year. And I think Andy's right in a sense that we've done a lot of digging, and Gary, you can chime in here. the election year is the tumultuous year in a lot of ways because of the downward talk of the economy. And then when your guy wins, you're like, oh, everything's great, even though none of the data or statistics have really changed significantly. I think my big question is, will they ever get to the 2%? Or is that 2.5, 2.7, 2.6 going to be kind of the bottom at this point? And if that's the case, that compounds itself to a sense. And if you throw tariffs on, like, it's not a foregone conclusion that we're going to be in a place where inflation continues its rate of decline. And even Jamie Dimon basically said, could we enter into another stagflation, consider it like what we saw in the late 70s, if we do these broad-based tariffs? So that's the big question. And then the tax cuts, that's a kind of a stimulating effect again. So you're doing stimulus again, and then you're adding on costs on the tariff side. What will that do to broader inflation? I think we will have our answer pretty quickly as we head into the midterms in 26, because that will be the referendum on the Republican Party and President Trump's leadership in this space. And I think he'll either live or die by the results of the midterms. And that will talk about lame duck on day one. It'll be super lame duck if Democrats take back control of the House in particular. So that's what I'm expecting. Like, my eyes on the inflationary number and what that does. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree. Echoing Andy earlier with the behavioral economics, as you were talking about, at least before COVID, when everything went nuts, we did see a long-term trend that in election years, footwear consumption the growth in footwear consumption tended to be slower during election years, and then tended to pick up in the year after an election. And that was true until COVID, and of course, everything went nuts in 2020 and 2021. So assuming we see that return to normal, then yeah, it suggests that this year we're likely to see footwear consumption do a bit better than its long-term trend rate of growth. But I think that tariff issue, again, is the elephant in the room that certainly could move the inflation needle substantially, particularly on the goods side, more so than the service side. And I do think it's a different world than we were in 4 years ago, to where we saw, after all of the stimulus that was thrown at the economy and at consumers, all the stimulus checks that went out to help kind of reinvigorate consumer demand, which was very successful and arguably too successful and inherently inflationary. It's a very different world that we're in now. We're seeing monetary policy that is in a loosening mood. We're seeing rates dropping again and set to continue dropping in 2025. And that in turn is unlikely to be a dampening effect on inflation, and more likely to see a bit of a longer-term re-acceleration on inflation. Now, we're not going to get to where we were a couple years ago, but yeah, I do think it is going to be much more difficult to see inflation drop to the Fed's 2% target, and more likely to see it begin to tick higher as we get deeper into the new year.
Alarm's going off.
Well, I guess that's the end of the episode. I'm just letting us know.
I want to say one last thing.
Nope, the alarm has happened, Matt.
I want to say one last thing. I hope 2025 is a less cynical year. I think our society is at this point where it's hyper cynical about everything. It doesn't trust anything. I saw a poll where 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds thought it was justified that the United Healthcare CEO was murdered in the streets of New York. One that impacted us because it's right in the heart of Fannie. It was during Fannie Market Week, and one of our team members was staying at the hotel he was shot outside of. So that freaks me out when there's a whole chunk of our society thinks vigilantism is cool. And so I just hope that we return to some optimism. We put our phones down for a bit, take a break from the nonsense, the doom scroll, and we hang out in person together more often and just kind of check our cynicism at the door and our distrust of everything. Because that part's freaking me out a little bit. And I don't want to buzzkill at the end of the episode, but at the same time, we just need to take a gigantic American chill pill, in my estimation.
I think that's a good way to kind of wrap it up. And I'll give you something at the end of the year, I read a lot of random stuff, more than most people, I think, really weird things, but it helps me think what's happening in society and what's going on. And somebody wrote something I thought was really great about grace. And I think it really, really resonate personally, but also as leaders of the industry, how we treat people, how we treat our customers, our workers, et cetera. But gratitude. So grace, gratitude, two small but extremely powerful words that translate into every language. Thank you. Resilience It's not the moment of failure that counts, but what you do after that matters most. Aspiration, the knowledge that we can make tomorrow different and better than today. I think that's really important, honestly. Courage, that this is not no fear, but rather to know fear and move beyond it. Empathy, walking in each other's shoes and journeying together. Grace is a feeling, an action, a perspective, a virtue that rises above the rest. Unearned and unmerited, grace is the gift of goodwill. And we wish you a great 2025, and we'll be with you every single step of the way. Contact us if we can help you, but until next time, have some grace for yourself and grace for others, and Shoe-In is out.
Shoe-In has been brought to you by the FDRA, the Footwear Industries Association focused on retail, trade, politics, and fashion, helping create and enhance conversations on all things footwear. For information about FDRA, visit fdra.org.